Dunkirk breaks one of the most fundamental rules of a story that I used to believe, which is that a story without a fully developed character is never going to resonate with the audiences as well as a story with one. Well, this movie had most of their characters remain nameless, and you still felt those fist pumping moments when they were rescued off the beach. Hell, one of these characters has one line in the movie, and it's not even in English, but when he dies, you feel absolutely gutted. So, what does this movie do to achieve this? And also, looking at Rapunzel massively helped me understand this puzzle, but we will get to her later. But there are two major factors as to why this movie feels so emotionally resonant: circumstance through setting and contrast in the face of justification. So let's start with the first part, circumstance through setting. This basically means that the location the character is in puts him in a situation where you pretty much straight away empathize with them and their motivations. And Dunkirk uses this masterfully to help build the emotional crux of the movie. Now, before we go deep into this, first we need to understand how a regular story builds its emotional crux. So, we are gonna be looking at Tangled because Golden Era Disney did feel good stories better than anyone, and Tangled is the movie which has been stuck in my memory more than any other Disney movie, except for The Lion King. So, in Tangled, we have Rapunzel, a cheery, upbeat princess kidnapped and raised by Gothel in isolation. Her main goal is to see the floating lanterns in person. It matters to her because she's isolated for most of her life, and these lanterns are a sign of celebration. And the fact that it's during her birthday makes her imagine that there are a lot of people who are celebrating her birthday. So, there are so many people she can talk to, make friends with, dance with. Basically, all of this stems from her loneliness and being in a tower by herself. And you see that she cares about this goal of hers so much that she is willing to break her mother slash evil witch's heart and just go out with a guy she just met. So you know this goal is really important to her, and you clearly understand why. So the emotional crux of the movie is her finally seeing the floating lanterns, and it resonates with you not just because of the beauty of the animation or the sound. It matters to you because you're also experiencing it through Rapunzel's eyes, and that's what a fully developed character does. They anchor you within the story to make you feel all the emotional depth of it. Now, going back to Dunkirk, they do a really good job of showing you how grim and horrific this location is. You see people getting murdered left and right. You see a lot of dead bodies. The enemy has the soldiers completely surrounded, and most of the soldiers have devolved into their worst impulses. They will gladly kill or put a comrade of theirs in danger in order to save their own skin. And both the French and English army are basically stranded on this island with nowhere to go and nowhere to defend themselves against the bombers. There's no hope on these islands, and you get these little moments with these characters just looking at the island, the relief on their faces, and how petrified they are. Their bodies are usually shivering. So, when this guy wants to leave it, you completely understand why. Like, you don't need to show us that he has a wife and a newborn baby waiting for him to return. We completely understand why he wants to get out of this place. And for the next hour and 13 minutes, Nolan makes this beach an inescapable hell that the guy you are rooting for cannot escape from. No plan of his works, and no matter how far away he gets away from this beach, he still ends up right back there. And Hans Zimmer's score perfectly captures all the grim, depressing horrors of this island, until finally, after an hour and 13 minutes of hopelessness, you finally get a moment of joy when the civilians arrive with their boats to rescue the soldiers from the island. And again, the score of Hans Zimmer perfectly captures this moment. So, the location gives you the context for why the characters are acting the way they are, and you completely understand their motivation, which gives you an anchoring effect between you and the characters, thus allowing you to feel the emotional beats of the story, which are heavily influenced by the music. The second factor is contrast in the face of justification. As you know, the beach is filled with people who have devolved into self preserving assholes, and they are completely justified. with the location they are in, survival instinct is obviously going to take over. But then you meet Kenneth Branagh's character, who has a much warmer and compassionate personality, and after meeting multiple jerks who will let others die to save their own skin, this guy immediately becomes a more memorable character. Another example would be the contrast between the two focal characters of this movie, this guy and Tom Hardy's character. The former does do a lot of things you agree with, trying to get out of this beach, standing up for his friend when the others want to feed him to the wolves. But when it does come down to choosing between his own life and saving the life of his friend, he chooses to save his own life because he is terrified of dying. Something which is not very heroic but very relatable and thus understandable. But he is still a coward, which is a sharp contrast between him and Tom Hardy, because Tom Hardy's character also has the same choice: save his own life by taking the plane back, or save hundreds of people from their deaths, and he chooses to save others, and this contrast makes him a more memorable character. So, yeah, that is how Dunkirk crafts a memorable story without a bunch of deep characters. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, consider nuking that subscribe button. And yeah, hope you have a great day. Bye.